All right, today we are cracking open a single, simple rule that runs the entire cosmos. We're talking everything from an apple falling off a branch to the incredible dance of entire galaxies. This is Newton's law of universal gravitation. So let's kick things off with a little puzzle. Think about it. An apple, the moon, and your own 2 feet. What in the world could they possibly have in common? Well, the answer connects our most down-to-earth experiences to the grand movement of space. They are all being pulled by the exact same invisible force, gravity. So here's what we've got on top. First, we'll get into Newton's massive idea. Then we'll decode the math behind it, see how it plays out right here on Earth, and then we'll zoom out to see its effect on the cosmos. And finally, we're going to bust a huge myth about space travel. Okay, let's dive right in. You know the story, right? Sir Isaac Newton sees an apple fall from a tree, and it triggers this absolutely revolutionary thought. If gravity can pull an apple from the top of a tree, could that same pull reach all the way out to the moon? And this is where the true genius kicks in. Newton realized that the force yanking that apple to the ground and the force holding the moon in its orbit weren't two separate things. Nope, they were one and the same. A single universal force that is always attractive and works absolutely everywhere. So how do you actually describe this incredible idea? Well, you use math. Let's take a look at one of the most famous equations in all of physics. This is basically the secret formula for how everything in the universe is connected. The law itself is so elegant. It just says that every single particle in the universe pulls on every other particle. That's it. No exceptions. And the equation that spells this out is built on 2 really core ideas. First up, the force depends on how much stuff you're working with. The more mass 2 things have, the stronger their gravitational pull is going to be. It's why a planet pulls on you way harder than a pebble does. It just has so much more mass. And second, distance is a huge deal. As you double the distance between 2 objects, the gravitational force doesn't get cut in half. No, it drops all the way down to a quarter of what it was. This is called the inverse square law, and it means that gravity gets weaker really, really fast as things get farther apart. You put those 2 ideas together, and you get this beautiful, powerful equation. The force, F, is the product of the 2 masses, divided by the square of the distance, and then the whole thing is multiplied by this one special number, g. Now let's talk about this g, the universal gravitational constant. Just look at how tiny that number is. That number, with all those zeros after the decimal point, tells us something really profound. On a cosmic scale, gravity is actually an incredibly weak force. And that weakness is the whole reason things work. It's because gravity is so gentle that massive things like solar systems and galaxies can stay in stable orbits for billions of years without just crashing into each other. It takes a ginormous amount of mass, like an entire planet's worth, for us to even notice its pull. Okay, so how does this huge universe-spanning equation connect back to something we all feel every single day? You know, the feeling of weight, the fact that things fall down when you drop them. This is where it gets so cool. We've got 2 different formulas for the force of gravity on an object near Earth. There's its weight, which is just its mass times g, and then there's Newton's big universal formula. Well, if we set those 2 equal to each other, something incredible happens. The mass of the object itself, that little m, is on both sides of the equation, so it just cancels out. And when you solve for g, you get about 9.8 meters per second squared. And you did it using only the mass of the Earth, the radius of the Earth, and that constant g. And this right here is the reason Galileo was right all along. Because the object's own mass completely disappears from the equation for its acceleration, a bowling ball and a feather, if you get rid of air resistance, will hit the ground at the exact same time. Newton's law finally gave us the why. All right, so we've connected the law to a falling apple. Now let's zoom back out and see how this very same equation explains the massive rhythmic sloshing of our planet's oceans. So the most obvious effect of another body's gravity on us, here on Earth, is the ocean tides. The moon is super close, so it exerts a pretty strong gravitational pull on our planet. And since water is a fluid, it kind of piles up into a bulge on the side of the Earth that's facing the moon. That's our high tide. But hold on, here's a classic puzzle. We get 2 high tides a day, not just 1. That means there has to be another bulge of water on the far side of the Earth. So how can that happen if the moon is pulling everything in the other direction? Well, the secret is that the moon isn't just pulling on the water, it's pulling on the entire planet. And remember, gravity gets weaker with distance. So the moon pulls hardest on the ocean water on the near side. That's bulge number 1. It pulls a little bit less on the solid planet Earth itself. And it pulls weakest of all on the water on the far side. So what's the result? The solid Earth is literally being pulled away from the water on the far side, leaving a second bulge behind. Pretty clever, right? Okay, for our last section, let's use Newton's law to clear up one of the biggest myths in all of science, this idea of zero gravity in space. Let's set the record straight. When you see astronauts floating around, they are not in zero gravity, not even close. At the height of the International Space Station, Earth's gravity is still about 90% as strong as it is down here on the surface. So what they're actually experiencing is something called weightlessness, which is just a state of continuous freefall. Picture this. The station, the astronauts, and everything inside are all falling toward Earth, but they're also moving sideways so fast that they constantly miss it. It's just like being in an elevator when the cable snaps. For that one terrifying second, you'd feel totally weightless. That's what they feel, all the time. Because of this, scientists actually prefer to use the term microgravity to describe that environment. And living in that state for a long time has very real effects on the human body. We're talking muscle loss, bone density loss. It's a huge area of research to figure out how to deal with it. So let's just put this whole journey into perspective. Newton published his law way back in 1687, but it took over 100 years before a guy named Henry Cavendish could build an experiment sensitive enough to actually measure that tiny number g. And guess what? The work is still not over. Today, physicists are still running experiments, pushing the limits of this law, trying to get a deeper understanding of what gravity really is. And that really gets to the heart of how science works. Newton gave us the rule book. He gave us a stunningly accurate formula for how gravity behaves, but he couldn't answer the deeper question, what is it? Is it some invisible force stretching across space? Or, as a certain Albert Einstein would later suggest, is it the actual bending of space and time itself? Well, that's a story for another exploration.